Mike DeCourcy with us from the Sporting News. Appreciate you being with us. Mike, with all this movement in players, I look at the list that some of the top players, this is ESPN, and Indiana has number 2, number 19, and number 20. And that's where I've stopped. But that's a pretty good get because nobody else has 3 of the top 20 there. But the overall haul that Indiana has made and the upgrade of their roster in the offseason seems to be one that you would give an A+ to, because all positions that they needed filled have been filled. You've got the big man in the middle from Arizona, and you add a couple of guards and Miles Rice from Washington State. Averaged 15 points a game. You've got Kanan Carlisle, who was a top 50 recruit coming out of high school, coming from Stanford. He averaged 12 points a game. And so the guard play is just what was killing Indiana last year. So they really fill that. And, that leaves them with backups like Trey Galloway, who is, to me, there's no way he's going to not move to a backup role.
Time out.
I know. Hey, that's why Mike Woodson does not give up on his starters. That's one thing. That's the only argument, is that he'll start over any of these guys.
It's not the only argument. He's got 4 years in the program. He's got 2 years as a starter. I mean, institutional knowledge, team leadership. Remember, leadership is huge in college sports. And, Trey obviously has not been a super vocal guy. I think in order to secure his position, he's going to have to morph a little bit in that direction. He's going to have to be a more vocal, more obvious leader at this stage of his career. Part of it, I think, in the past was because it wasn't necessarily his role. I think 100% that they will try to find a way for him to start.
I don't doubt that.
I just don't see how you take out a fifth-year senior out of the starting lineup, and when he's been there for the last 2 years, and expect to move forward. That's dicey. I think you have to find a way that you rotate the 3 guards, or that Trey could also get some minutes at the 3 spot. When Mbako rests, you can use Trey at 2 and 3. I think the good news is you won't have to use him at all at any point this year at the point guard. And that was a problem last year when he had to play that position because of injury and other elements. That certainly it was not his spot. It's not what he does best. But there's still a spot for someone, especially in a lineup like this where you have scorers at multiple positions. Someone's got to be a facilitator in that group. And I've always admired his ability to connect players, to get the ball from the guard to the front line and back again. He's got great ability in that area. So I am not down with that, with the idea that Trey Galloway doesn't start.
Well, and the starting or not starting, I think, with Indiana doesn't have a lot of relevance. It's total minutes played. And I just don't see that not happening with guys that have much more production, because that was the one thing. Although in some games he had great production, Trey Galloway, but you can't count on him as a shooter from outside. And both of these guys can shoot. Then you've also got Mr. Goody, who was brought in, who can shoot. So there's going to be a lot of competition in that area.
Oh, yeah. And so that's what makes this team so exciting on paper. A year ago, or not even a year ago, a few months ago, people were not all people, and maybe not even a majority of people, but a large percentage of IU fans were really loud about needing to change. And now you come back into this season with as much success in the transfer portal as pretty much anybody's had, if not more. And you've got a great opportunity to have a significant season.
Man, Five Left's never agrees with me. You don't know, this is like historic, but he thinks that Trey should start just because he's a fifth-year guy. He doesn't think he should.
Right.
He think if he gets beat out in shooting, he shouldn't start. And that's what my thinking is exactly. And for Five Lefts to agree with me, you don't understand. This is he does not ever agree with me on most things. But that's where my thinking is. It's if you want to be an elite team, the best team, that you've got to have the best players on the floor, and whoever that is.
Do you?
I mean,
do the Pacers start with their five best? Do the Pacers start their five best players?
Well, but the Pacers are a lot deeper at every position.
Are they?
They have been. Or Indiana.
I mean, they're deeper than most NBA teams, maybe, but IU is pretty deep right now on the perimeter. We just named 4 or 5 really good college basketball players, and there's 3 spots, so that's pretty good depth.
And it depends on how Woody's going to do this. I mean, he did have the penchant for doing the hockey style rotations. Then after he caught a lot of grief over that, and because it wasn't working, he didn't have he didn't have the firepower to do that. Now he may have that. So we may see that again. I don't know. But he does have the ability to replace certain guys in a wave here. I don't think that's across the board. You don't have a guy that you can just replace Ballo with right now. That's still one of the open scholarships they haven't filled, because I don't think that's going to be Malik Renew. But yeah, I don't know what we're going to see.
I'm being totally honest here. I mean, I've been doing this for more than 35 years, and I haven't seen a genuinely successful college team that didn't have significant leadership. And I don't know where that comes from, if not from Trey Galloway. That's just the nature of this team. With you brought in 3 transfers on the perimeter. You have 2 veterans in the front court with Mbako and Renew. And then you have a transfer at center. I mean, there has to be some there has to be some continuity for it to work. And Trey represents that continuity, and that is his natural strength. That's his superpower, so to speak, is that he is a connecting player. I've talked about this for years. I mean, and many years, because he's been there so long. That's what he does. And I believe that he will find a way to be in the starting lineup, and that there'll be plenty of minutes for Luke Goody. There'll be plenty of minutes out there, but I just don't see how Trey Galloway doesn't start and play 25-ish minutes a game, depending. And remember, Trey Galloway's not a bad shooter. He was put in a bad spot last year with a lot of the year going by with no point guard, or him being the point guard, and his percentage went down because the quality of shots went down.
Yeah, but his free throw shooting was horrible. He's 50% free throw shooter.
I'm not talking about his free throw shooting. I'm talking about.
I know.
If he is the player that in the position that we expect, he won't go to the line that much. If he's in the role that we expect, it won't come up that much. And yeah, he should. I think that he's gotten himself into a mental block situation, and that's impacted his free throw shooting. He needs to break through that. He shouldn't be a poor free throw shooter with the other skills that he has. So I don't think that's his natural state. He'll be a good free throw shooter again, but that's not a big concern. He won't take more than 75, 80 free throws this year if he's playing in the position we're talking about.
Right. And there should be a lot of other players that are drawing that off anyway with the talent that should be around him. And we forget that there has to be a continued improvement of Malik Renew and Mackenzie Mbako. Those two guys have to improve, and because they should be carrying the load for this team, to be honest with you. I mean, you've got Ballo there too, but those two should be carrying the load. They're the experienced players. They're the elite players. Mbako is an elite shooter. We started to see that at the end of the year last year when he started to come into it. And if he can pick up from there and keep going, then he can be a dangerous player, because I also saw him start to do some other things, get to the rim a little bit, which he did not do much of at all at the beginning of the year. He's a great free throw shooter, but they just need those knockdown shooters. Haven't had them. And if you can get him doing that and a few other guys, then that changes Indiana completely. And then you've got Ballo down there in the middle, who is obviously a proven commodity.
Yeah, I will say about Mbako, ever since Gerard Ward came out of Mississippi and went to Michigan in the mid-90s. So this is a long time. I just looked it up. Gerard Ward is 48 years old now. So this tells you how long ago I started to realize what a challenge it is for an elite small forward to transition from high school to college. It is the most difficult position to transition. It usually doesn't go smoothly. Carmelo Anthony was a rare player, and the reason he was because he could play every position on the floor. But if small forward is your spot and you were great in high school, it probably means, especially if you're built like an Mbako or a Gerard Ward, where you're taller, you've probably spent a lot of your high school career bullying guys. You just were bigger. You were 6'8", 6'7", being guarded by 6'3", 6'2". A lot of the time.
That's a Trent Sisley. That's a perfect example of Trent Sisley right now.
Yeah, and so I always give more grace to that player now since Gerard Ward, since I noticed that with him. I always allow that player more time to transition. It's just a harder thing. Unless you're an absolute elite shooter, like we saw at Kansas a couple of years ago with Grady Dick. If you're an elite shooter, it's not as big a deal. But if you're just an okay shooter trying to become a very good one, and you spent your high school career just being more dynamic and bigger than the players you go against, it takes a while. And so, I think Mbako is a good to very good shooter who has the potential to become an excellent one. And he had a difficult transition from high school to college, but he started to get it at the end of the year, like you said. And that's important, because if he's starting to show it after he's starting to see how college defenses work against him and work around him, then he's going to figure it out in year two. I think Mackenzie has a chance to have a special year, and that will change how IU plays offense.
Yeah, one thing that, like someone like I mentioned, Trent Sisley, he playing on his high school team, he's pretty much it. He doesn't have a lot of help on his team, so he ends up having to play out of position, playing almost basically center half the time, where he is not going to be a center at all, but he is getting great experience because he's being double and triple teamed every time, getting beaten in the face. I've seen him bust his nose when I was down there once. And now he's during the summer league, he's playing outside. He's playing where he should. He's playing on a wing, but he's also can go in and work in the paint. So I've seen him score in the paint, but he's also be able to stand out there and knock down 3-pointers. He has got a great tool bag and to work with. So that is going to be helpful for him. But yeah, he's not going to be able to shine in high school as much because of that, because he's not playing in position where he would normally play.
And he may have a bit of transition. Or who knows? Maybe he supersedes it like Carmelo did. But if he does have a difficult transition, he won't be the first. He'll just be the latest. But eventually, those guys figure it out. Most of them do. The best ones do. And I think Mackenzie's performance at the end of last year started to show that he was getting it. And remember, Mackenzie played again, like we talked about with, like we talked about before. Mackenzie played his freshman year with almost his entire freshman year without a point guard. And so his opportunities, the quality of his opportunities was lower than it should have been, and lower than it was at the beginning of the year when Xavier Johnson was healthy, and at the end of the year when he returned. That's part of why you saw Mackenzie's performance elevate, because now he's getting better quality of opportunities. With Rice coming in from Washington State, the hope is that that quality of opportunity will be there from the beginning to the end.
Hello, everybody. Jim Coyle with Indiana Sports Beat Radio, and thank you for enjoying our content and videos. And make sure you hit that subscribe and notifications toggle so you don't miss out on anything, whether it's Indiana Hoosiers, the Boilers, the Colts, the Pacers, Indiana high school action, whatever's happening in sports. We're trying to bring it all to you, and make sure you don't miss out on a thing. Again, hit the subscribe button for us. Helps us out a ton. We appreciate each and every one of you. Thank you so much.